Welcome, I'm your host Elizabeth D'Orazio, and we are here at the Main Street Museum in White River Junction on Bridge Street. I am joined by the curator of this wonderful cabinet of curiosities, David Fairbanks Ford, and he's going to give us an overview of what this amazing space has. Now, David, where to begin? Everything here has me asking questions and makes me want to look at more. Tell us about the Main Street Museum.
Well, thank you, Elizabeth. We were founded actually in 1992. We were down on South Main Street in a kind of bombed out building, but it was great because it was the same shape as this space. This is a big, long, skinny space here, and it's an old storefront. So we were very much interested in being in a old-fashioned storefront style venue, and we had wild cats, we had drunks next door who hung out at our place a lot. We had an Elvis impersonator come in for one of our first shows. So we very much became a sort of from the ground up museum. We were doing art, we were doing live music, we were doing a little bit of film, but basically a lot of art. And writers, we did poetry stuff, and writers came into the museum a lot, and the local newspaper called it a do-it-yourself museum. So we were a do-it-yourself museum with a faux brick exterior and a very funky interior. And that space lasted for about 5 years. Then we moved down to Hartford Village, and we were there for 5 years. We also had space in the old Hartford Woolen Mill building. And so this is a spot where it's an old mill. It was renovated by Matt Busey, who's now doing 4 different buildings in town. So we were very much part of the sort of taking an old space and reusing it, creative reuse of a building. And so we started getting objects. We were doing a lot of art, and we started getting given things. Someone would come in from the Historical Society. Someone would come in from the local Precision Museum, gave us a few things like our dried cats. One of our dried cats came from the Precision Museum. So we immediately became friends with folks. And up at Dartmouth too, I did a lecture up there, part of the regional selections show. These display cases we've got up now just came out of the Hood Museum. So when they are getting rid of things, they can give us things. We're not only recycling the spaces we've been in, but we're recycling other museum stuff. So we're all about recycling, and we're all about telling stories. And it was sort of unclear in the beginning what we were doing. And then we sort of figured it out. We can get an object that has no meaning, a brick, for instance, but the brick is from Monticello. So you can tell the story of Thomas Jefferson, you can tell the whole story of Monticello, and even Palladio on the plans and all the neoclassical architecture there from this one brick, because it was part of it. History, basically, are words and images of history, and there are remembrances of history, but the only actual parts of history we've got are the relics. So we've got a brick, we've got a nail, we have a piece of Versailles, a pebble from the gravel at Versailles. You can tell the whole story of the Bourbon monarchy through that, one pebble. So it may not seem like much when you first look at it, but once you start thinking about it, it really is these objects are very important. And we also put it online. So we have a wiki, we're getting that back up and running. It's been down now for over a year, but we're getting the wiki back up and going so that people can add to that from the outside in. And we're very much a participatory museum, which means people can communicate with us and can contribute. It's not just me, the curator, saying you have to do this. I want people's ideas about what these things are. Some strange object, what do you think it is? So I'll ask you, and then I'll write down what you say, or you can type in yourself on our wiki page. So it's very participatory and from the ground up.
I think that's what makes this space unique, is it is something that just engenders conversation and engenders inquiry. Like, I can see things and I'm like, okay, I have to ask you about that. I have to ask you about that. But I could also see myself getting lost in here for hours and hours and hours.
That's the point. It's very good. And museums have a traditional function of being the neutral voice of authority. Like, you go to the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston and you see great art. You go to the Natural History Museum and you learn what a natural history planet or a piece of minerals or an animal was. But now those sort of definitions are very in flux, and people are editing a lot through the internet, and all that information is available on the internet. So what is the new role of the new museum going to be? And we're just trying to figure it out.
Yes, but I think we all should come in and check it out, because this Main Street Museum is your museum, and you want to take part in the conversation, particularly if you have an inquisitive mind.